If we could begin, just everyone take a breath, let it out. I know there's been a lot of information that has been given to you today. Some of it has been very technical, some of it has been frightening, some has been hopeful, but what I'd like to do with this last session is I don't want to tell you more about artificial intelligence. I want you to exercise human intelligence. Because the session is about giving you the tools, starting to give you the exercise that will allow you to spot when AI is being used in content that you are consuming. Specifically, I want to help you figure out when photos or videos are what we would call deep fakes. Now, in my first two presentations, I gave an overview of what AI could do when it was properly used in education and what it could do when it's used in society in general. Now, in this session, I want to give you some knowledge that will help you when you need to spot where AI is being used to sway you. Now, most of you probably remember this photo. This was very popular about 2 years ago. It shows Pope Francis in a Balenciaga jacket. It's a designer jacket that would cost thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, when I saw this, I disregarded it because to me, it's obviously fake. But the Jesuit Curia received more than 1,000 emails in one day from people around the world who were concerned that Pope Francis was in a designer jacket that cost more than their home. So that told me that even though sometimes things appear apparent to those who have been trained to spot those anomalies, those anathema, for most people, when they see something like this on their phone, they can't spot it. They don't know what to look for. And so naturally, they're going to assume that since I see it, since there's proof in front of me, this must be true. We need to change that. That change is going to start with you. That change is going to start with people like you who will then help the other people, the people who believe everything that they see. Now, there were a few things immediately about this that made those of us who have been playing with AI for a long time know that there was something wrong. The shadows up here on his face don't match the shadows over here. You see this, the cincture, you can tell that this is where the AI recognized that the Pope wears this big cincture around his waist, and it tried to incorporate it into the jacket. But that makes no sense. It wouldn't work. That's not how jackets work. So obviously there's been some sort of melding. And then there's the fingers. This was the big, okay, the wedding ring is kind of a dead giveaway. But also, if you look over here, his hand has been mangled. The AI could not figure out how to properly render hands that were holding onto a cup. So to someone like me, it was clear that this was generated by AI. But to those who are trying to sow disinformation, those who are trying to embarrass the Pope, or those who are just trying to troll the world, something like this is perfectly passable, and you need to be able to spot where it comes from. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you an easy example. This should be extremely easy for you to know that this is AI. While that image was fake, it was actually pretty good for the technology 2 years ago. I'm going to go back into ChatGPT right now, and I'm going to ask it to create an image of Pope Francis with Pope Leo. There we go. Now, obviously there's something, if you're Catholic, you know that immediately there's something wrong here because one of these men is deceased and could not pose for the photo. But there are a few other things that should immediately come to your mind. First is, I guess the AI found a picture of Pope Leo when he was a seminarian. The cross is the wrong cross. The vestments are the wrong vestments. The shadow that you have on the side of his face does not match the shadow that you have on the side of Pope Francis. These are the things that need to become second nature. You need to be immediately suspicious of every image that you see, and you need to start saying, well, there could be something wrong here. Look at how the two figures mesh. What might be wrong? What feels off? What is it about this image that I think that's machine generated? Now, let me be clear. Almost every photo is going to look like it has something wrong with it because as a communications professional, we edit photos. We make them look better, but that's normally by changing the color, changing the contrast, sharpening the image. We don't add or subtract anything, not if we're being honest about our work. So it's not enough to say that there's something wrong with the photo. You need to know how much wrong. When does it cross the threshold of that's a strange photo to that's a fake? Now, the scary thing is, if we went back 10 years, these sort of photos were available. At the beginning of the machine language generation, the revolution, you could create convincing deep fakes, but the last vestige of truth on the internet was if there was a video. If there was a video that was too processor intensive, it would take too long to generate, it would be too difficult for me to make something look like it was real if I have a series of motion pictures. An image is a single image. When I'm looking at a video, I'm looking at 25 to 30 frames, 25 to 30 images every second. So it becomes astronomically more difficult for me to fake it. At least it used to be. This is a video from a company that specializes in what they call lip syncing technology. It essentially takes a real video and then it turns it into whatever you might want it to be. And we have audio for this. We should have audio for this. Okay, never mind. I can narrate past it. So, in this video, it's connected, yeah. In this video, we have two videos from a well-known news anchor by the name of Anderson Cooper in the United States. And in the first one, on the one on this side, it's just Anderson Cooper doing a video cast. He's saying, the Dow is up, the weather is fine, the president is in Washington, D.C. On the other side, you have him seemingly saying that the moon has crashed into the earth, the Russians have launched their missiles at Miami, and the Dow has crashed to zero. Now, obviously, that's fake, but if you looked, if we could hear the lip syncing, it's straight on. Because what they've done is they've realized they don't have to change the whole video. They don't have to change the entire thing. They don't have to render 25 to 30 frames a second. They only have to change the area around the mouth to match what it is that they want it to say. And they've used a language learning module to change the text into his voice. It actually sounds like Anderson Cooper is telling us that the world is ending. Now, when we get to this level of sophistication, it becomes very difficult for us to tell what is real and what is not. So when we look at something like this, we have to ask ourselves, how do we spot these anathema? How are we going to be able to tell when something is real and something is not? I want to use a video created by one of my favorite content creators. This is David from a channel called Pay It Forward on YouTube. He put together a good video, I'm betting the audio is not going to work on this one, that shows some simple ways to spot deep fakes. Now, as he's going on, what he's going to be doing is he's going to be showing you two images side by side. And in those images, he's going to be pointing out some of the anathema that I've been talking about. He's going to be pointing out some of those things that just don't make sense. Now, in this instance, we have the Amalfi Coast. Let me pause this right here. Looking at this, would you say that either of these images jump out at you as fake? Yes, no, maybe. You're just starting. Raise your hand if you think the image on this side is fake. Raise your hand if you think the image on that side is fake. Okay, raise your hand if you're not really sure and you don't want to embarrass yourself right now. Okay, that's fine, that's fine. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at details that when we zoom in on would show that one image or another is fake. What he's going to do is he's going to show us in just a second here which one is real and which one has been machine generated. And he's asking us to look at that one. This is the fake image. And the reason why it's fake is because if you look at the water doesn't look right. The water looks as if there's something wrong with it. The water looks as if it's rendered because it has been rendered. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, and since the audio is not working on this one either, I'm going to bring up the original video, and we're just going to scan through it to make sure that you can see what I can see. And that goes right here. This is why it's always important to do technical rehearsals. There we go. All right, let's go to the next example. The next example is right here. I've got two images, both showing art galleries. Again, one is fake and one is real. Take a look, really look at them. Is there anything about any of the images that jumps out at you that says, I think that one's fake? I'm going to give you a little hint. Remember, one of the things that always gives away bad deepfakes is lighting sources, shadows. So what do I see here? I see my lighting source, I see my lights, I see reflections, I see shadows. I see lighting source. What's going on up here? I have a light source, but no lights. This is something that AI does a lot. Eventually it will fix it, but AI is not very good at figuring out where the shadows are supposed to be. It's not very good at figuring out where the lighting is supposed to be. So if we continue with the video, he's going to explain exactly what I told you. That up here, when we see no source of the lights. But again, if you look at it, it looks really good. It's really convincing. Here's another one. So this is Big Sur. This is in my home state. This is where I grew up, California. One of these is fake, and one of these is real. Which one is which? Go ahead and take a look. We'll run it through. Which one of those do you think is fake? It's this one. But why? This is another problem. The background details. If you look close enough, that's not real. That's a texture. That's AI trying to figure out what should go there. And that's actually one of the things that we look at. Whenever they do landscape, AI is normally taking those tokens, those representations, and it's duplicating them over and over and over. It's like landscape, 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 which may look good to the computer. It looks terrible to us. Let's take another one. Let's go to nature. I like nature. Okay. Two images, two videos. One is fake, one is real. Let's go back to the hands up. Who thinks that this is the fake image? Okay, got one. Who thinks this one is the fake image? Two. Okay, more, good. The people who thought this is the fake image are right. But why are you right? You're right because of this. If you zoom in on the beaks, that's not a bird. That's some sort of mutant. That does not exist. There we go. These are birds who are seriously ill. And that's because AI, it didn't have the right data to know how to render a beak properly. And again, I know this is more difficult because this requires you to be an expert in birds to be able to spot it. But this is what the AI revolution is forcing us to do. Let's go back to something a bit more fun. What I'd like to do now is I want to give you, in the last few minutes of the presentation, more of the same. We're going to be doing a little exercise using 3 sets of images from St. Peter's in Rome. Now, you know what St. Peter's are, and all of these are of the same place, so it should help you to spot which one is real and which one is false. And I'm going to start with a super easy one. This is St. Peter's from a rooftop. Actually, one of them is the rooftop of the Jesuit Curia. Who thinks that this one is the fake image? Okay. And who thinks this one is the fake image? Okay. We'll do a little close-up here. This is the first photo. This is the second photo. Hopefully, now that it's enlarged, it should be very clear. Because this structure does not exist in St. Peter's courtyard. That's not real. So this is an easy example because AI misunderstood the assignment. It didn't understand exactly what St. Peter's looks like, so it added something that doesn't exist. But if you look at them, that's actually pretty convincing. If it wasn't for this part that it added, I don't think I'd be able to tell that that was computer generated. Let's look at another example. This is a shot of St. Peter's from the front, from the sidewalk. Now, looking at this, let's do the close-up first. This is the first image. Okay, well, there's a few things that are interesting about this. You should be taking a look at the people and seeing if that's what people actually look like. Maybe you know what the front of St. Peter's looks like. Is there anything missing? Is there anything that wasn't included in the photo? Take a look up here. Is this how the top of St. Peter's looks? Are these the buildings that are on the side of St. Peter's? Do any of the shadows look like they disagree? Like, for example, here the sun is coming down from this side, and I have a shadow over here. Well, yeah, that kind of follows. This looks like it's doing the right shadow pattern. Now let's take a look at the other photo. This other photo, okay, these are 2 different buildings, so these are not the same buildings as the first photo. The shadows are more or less consistent. There might be a few errors here. The people seem a bit more live, realistic, but that might just be something that AI has generated. So looking at the 2, which of these is fake? Raise your hand if you think this one is fake. Raise your hand if you think this one is fake. Oh, we're getting better. We're getting very, very, very good. The fake one, of course, is this one. And the reason why it's fake is because it's got the wrong buildings. These buildings, whatever it brought them from, these don't exist in front of St. Peter's. The lighting is also wrong. Those light fixtures don't exist in front of St. Peter's. This looks like it's something that was brought over from images of France. And the sidewalk, this one was the dead giveaway for me. This is not cobblestone. The front of St. Peter's is cobblestone. So again, yes, it requires you to do more work, but for me, this is kind of fun. This is what I do in my office when it's late at night and I've had grappa and I want to relax. I take a look at how well AI has been able to fake images. Let's do one more, just one more. Nighttime shots. These are the most difficult to figure out because you don't get the benefit of sun helping you with shadows. Remember, shadows are what I use all the time to spot AI. But at night, shadows can go in all different directions because I've got so many light sources. So there's a few things I noticed about this. First, the people, they look real, but they don't look like they're dressed to go inside of St. Peter's. You know, okay, I've got a cobblestone, but I've got cobblestone over here. So this got it right. This knows that there's cobblestone in front of St. Peter's. The lighting is all over the place. Again, because it's at night, I don't have the benefit of that single point of light coming from the sun. Okay, so the question is, between this one and this one, which one do you think is fake? Raise your hand if you think this is the fake image. Okay. Raise your hand if you think this is the fake image. The answer is this one. In fact, I generated this about 20 minutes ago. Yeah. So if you look at it, the reason why it's fake is, first of all, where are the people? Yeah. And look, there should be, right here, there's a fence. There's a fence in front of St. Peter's. The fence has disappeared. And here's one that actually is important because they make this mistake a lot. There's a reflection here of the front of St. Peter's that should not exist. That surface is not reflective. So these are things, again, requires you to do a little bit of research, but these are incredibly important for you to know how to do because we do live in an age where AI is being used to fool us. Oh. Thank you.